Alright, here we go. Alright everybody, so quick little update for grading purposes. There's tons of stuff going on in the grading industry. It's a mess, really, when you go to think about it, but kind of wanted to break it down this way. With one particular card as an example, I took the Joe Burrow, just base prism card, and kind of ran it through for comps on different grading services to determine what you would get back and how much you would have to pay to get that submitted, given the suspension of services by some of the companies and things like that that's going on. So we'll just go through it. Of course, everybody knows earlier in the spring, PSA eliminated or suspended all of their grading services below $300, which is their Super Express. So yeah, that's the cheapest you can submit a card to PSA right now, and this is June 7th. They're supposed to potentially open up more service levels next month, but there's been no update, and I'm just assuming that it's going to be longer than July, so that they can continue to catch up on all of their backlog. Beckett just announced that as of June 7th, they will not be accepting anything less than their premium service. So they are suspending everything below premium for them. So they had economy, standard, and another level between standard and premium. I forget the term for it, but it was $150 for those submissions. So now the cheapest you can submit to BGS, which is Beckett, the cheapest you can send there is $250. So $300 to PSA, $250 to BGS. If you're submitting anything relatively inexpensive, then you really can't use either of those services. I mean, it's just cost prohibitive at this point, any kind of base card at all. And a lot of your colored and numbered stuff is not going to be able to be sent to either of those companies, which historically have been the top dogs of grading. That's the two companies you used to really want, because that's what brought the best return on your money when you went to sell it. Now with $250 and $300 being the minimum threshold for you to pay per card, now mind you, if you're spending that much money for one card and you're submitting 10, 20 cards, it can get very expensive very quickly. And on top of that, these are not all-in costs. These are the per card charges. Each of these companies have additional, shipping and insurance and things like that will go into it, but that kind of applies to each company, so I didn't really necessarily address each of those. So we'll go through it. First of all, PSA is king. It just is, and it's probably going to continue to be for at least the foreseeable future. I think that PSA could see some competition for that number one value spot. I just don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think they're taking the necessary precautions to, keep their customers happy enough, which nobody's happy with a 2, 3, 4 month suspension of services. But in order to get their backlog fixed, hopefully for good, this is just something that they thought they had to do. So yeah, I mean, it's king, but at $300, you just can't really submit anything to them unless it's a super expensive card. Yeah, so I took this Joe Burrow base prism, which the raw cards on eBay have now dipped well under $100. They're closer to around $50 now. They used to be going for around $1 to $110 to even up to $120 some, when Prism first came out. But yeah, that's kind of the cost of the card. If you don't pull it yourself, it's probably going to be, if you wanted to go to eBay now and buy it, it would probably cost you $50. If you got a really good deal now, that's probably not a PSA 10. You can never assume that you're going to get a PSA 10, even if you have a great copy. If you have a great copy, you just assume PSA 9 and hope PSA 10 is generally when you're submitting for grading, because you never know what the professional graders are going to pick up and see. And then there's been a lot of reports over the last 6 months, particularly over the last 2 to 3 months, that everybody's submissions are coming back just killed. So there's the thought process that PSA is kind of underhandedly doing a population control. I don't know that they are. That's just kind of some speculation and rumor, but it does seem like a lot of people that submit thousands of cards and have always submitted thousands of cards for years now, and then all of a sudden what they used to be getting as far as percentage 10% gem rates have gone down dramatically by over 50% decrease in gem rates when their standard review process has not changed. And so it appears the PSA is getting a little bit more picky with what they're giving out gems to, which may not be a bad thing in the long run. On to Beckett. Like I mentioned, Beckett, I really like Beckett. I wish Beckett was more valuable on the resale market. I think that they should probably be number one, but they're just not. So yeah, and on top of that, now they've suspended services less than $250, so they're basically cost prohibitive at this point, and on top of that, they're super slow. So I think, and I gauged PSA to be, for their Super Express level, to be about a 1 month turnaround. BGS, I don't know. They don't have any information available. I don't know anybody personally that has submitted through BGS, so I don't know. I would hope that it's a month, 2 months at the most, but like I said, I just don't have any information. Their website, as far as I could tell, didn't give any kind of estimates as to where they are on their turnarounds. I know that they shut down all their services lower than premium to get caught up, and supposedly, according to their press release, to prepare for the national, which whatever that means, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, BGS at this moment for me, it's just not an option. It's too expensive, it takes too long to return your cards, and there's not enough resale value for the wait and the expense. PSA, you could say, well, it's fine. I'm willing to pay the $300 because I'm getting a premium if I get a PSA 10. Okay. If you have the correct card, then that makes sense. For BGS, even that is kind of hard to make sense. So, and we'll just run through the comps here. What I did mainly is if there's multiple comps, I usually threw out the highest and lowest and just got a good estimate, average of what the resale cost would be. That's what these estimates are. And then here's your cost to grade, and then that gave us the profits here. So if you were to receive a PSA 10, which apparently, according to all indications, are even more difficult to get now, but let's say you submitted for $300 and you get a $500 card because you got a PSA 10. Well, that's okay. You got $200 profit. And even if the card cost you $50 or even $100, you're still in the green. However, you're not going to get 100% gem rate. You're going to get some PSA 9s. You may get all PSA 9s. And for every PSA 9 you get, you're losing over $150. That's not including the cost of the card. So, unless you're pulling all these and they're PSA 10 quality, for sure, you're losing a good bit of money submitting to PSA. That's why I said, for these types of cards, you're not submitting to PSA. Maybe when they open up more service levels, if they open up more service levels next month or whenever they do, then you can kind of look into it, because if they open up the $100 economy or the $50 value, you're going to talk about a much longer time to get your cards back, but your ROI is going to go up a lot more. And to me, that's probably a little bit more important than getting your cards back in a month for PSA for $300. So I think that's worth the give and take there. BGS, again, if they come back and open up some more service levels, they do have an economy at 35. They have a standard service level at 50. And I think they had a $150 level as well. I don't know the times on all of those. I assume an economy level is over a year for BGS. Standard is probably over a year for BGS, or at least close to it, probably at least over 9 months, given what I've heard as far as the lack of communication from BGS and the long wait periods. And all of these costs for BGS are with subgrades, because I don't believe in submitting to BGS if you don't get the subgrades. If you can't tell if it's True Gem or True Gem Plus or anything like that, you're going to get docked a little bit on the resale. And the labels just don't look as clean and clear. You can obviously tell that things are missing from the label. On to the next guys in line. So we'll jump back up here to SGC. So SGC's kind of taken the ball and ran with it. They're the closest thing, I think, really to PSA and BGS, although they have the furthest thing from them with the slabs. They have the tuxedo, the black slabs, which I think look cool, but you gotta like them. So here's their resale values, kind of averaging out. If you get a 10, a 9.5, or a 9, it's going to be $30 to submit via standard, which is running about 4 weeks, which is a great turnaround time and not a bad price. So you're profiting. Even if you get a 9, you can still profit on an SGC 9. So that's the good news there. You're really profiting pretty good. Even SGC 10, look at the difference between profits on SGC 10 versus PSA 10. They're pretty close because the cost to grade is so much more expensive. I mean, you're talking about 10x for the grading cost, and you're not that far apart on the profit side. So, and you're getting it turned around in about 4 weeks, so you're about the same time on the turnaround, so you're not losing anything there. SGC, obviously a good option. On to the next two, kind of the newer guys in the space. HGA started out in February of this year, or maybe even into January, but really February is when people started hearing about them, and they started taking on public cards. So with HGA, and up until now, so PSA 10 is a gem mint, BGS 9.5 is a gem mint, SGC 10 is a gem mint, and HGA 9.5 is a gem mint. So everything except for SGC and PSA are going to be, your 9.5 is going to be the same as those 10s from a gem mint standpoint. So we take the 9.5, it's averaging out to be about 305, which is more than your SGC 10 resale value. So the HGA 9.5s are usually getting more on average than these, but they're about the same really. It averages out to be more, but only because we didn't throw out any of the comps here. We used all of them to get that average. And you just don't have any of those $400 sales, and somebody jumped up and paid $410 for one there. But they're around the same price, around that $300 mark is probably what you're going to be hoping to get for either of those. The HGA 60-day submission is a $20. If you wanted to bump it to 30-day, and these are business days, not calendar days, so 60 days is not a true 2 month, it's 60 business days. But yeah, if you wanted to bump it up to 30 days, it goes up $10 a card. And there you have it. So yeah, you're still making money regardless. You know, HGA 10, there's none listed on eBay that I could tell. There's none that have sold on eBay. And I didn't check the pop reports, but yeah, I mean you're making money at HGA if you get a 9.0 or 9.5, and in reality, if you get a 9.5, it's about the same as a SGC 10. If you get a SGC 9.0, and that's equivalent, we'll say, to HGA 9, which you could argue whether or not HGA 9 is equivalent to SGC 9.5 or 9.0, but either way, you're coming out with more profit on the HGA side. HGA has also suspended some service levels as well, but they're doing the opposite of what Beckett and PSA have done. They're suspending the higher service levels because they were guaranteeing turnaround times of 5 days, 10 days, and they were having trouble meeting those quick turnaround times. So they suspended those to get everything caught up a little bit, which I think is a pretty good deal. They were guaranteeing these times, they were falling behind, they admitted it, and they shut it off so that they could catch up and build the facilities, build their equipment up. They could hit those benchmarks. They've also increased from 5 cards to 9 cards, and they're saying in the summer, later this summer, hopefully next month, they're going to be upping that even more, potentially even releasing the cap and bringing those other service levels back. We'll see what happens. We'll be following along closely. I like HGA. Their slabs are very high quality. I love the labels. But I like SGC slabs too. I just don't like SGC's labels. I don't know why. It's the font. For some reason I don't like. And last but not least, CSG 9.5 and 9.0s. CSG is the new guy on the block, but they're owned by the comic book grading card company that has been around for a long time, but the sports card grading company is definitely newer. So they've been experiencing some problems as well. They're already kind of falling behind. Their bulk submission process is basically a 1-year turnaround. It's 199 days on their website, and I think they're 2 months out before you can even check on their website. So it's basically 2 months before your cards are put into their system and the days are counted. So yeah, it's so long. And then we're not doing the bulk submission pricing. We're doing the standard, which is $20. I think the bulk was like $12. So $20. If you get a 9.5, you're okay. A little bit less than your SGC or HGA gems. If you get the 9.0, it's going to be close once you take into account the price of the card. Same thing for the SGC 9s, though, as well. So I put 61 days. That appears to be what they're saying the turnaround time is. I haven't submitted to CSG, so I don't know how true that is, but that certainly looks to be, I guess, the case. With all this said and done, I think your two main companies are probably SGC and HGA, with a little bit of a lean towards SGC. I like the fact that they have the 9.5 grade and the 10 grade, so you can get that 10 grade. A lot of people like having a 10 on their card, and then you also have the benefit of getting a 9.5 if it's not quite 10 status, whereas the HGA 9.5, if you're not good enough for gem, you go down to a 9. Looks a little bit worse, obviously, than a 9.5, regardless of who the grading company is. I like different things about each company. I think the overall hobby sentiment is a little bit higher on SGC, but HGA is right there with them, and they're really new. So that leads me to believe that they could very well overtake SGC in the near future, but only time will tell for that. And I think they're going to have to open up the floodgates and allow people to submit as many cards as they can. And the queue system, super hard to get into and submit cards to HGA. If you don't know, twice a week they open at a certain time and you have to submit. You get put into a queue and then they assign you a random number. You find out whether you got in to be able to submit your 9 cards or not. So it's a wonky system. It's not great. I've been boxed out several times, and I've been able to get through a couple of times. So if they can fix the queue system to where anybody that wants to submit can submit, and you can submit as many as you want, then HGA is going to see a real spike, I think. But as far as right now, if I were looking at this objectively from a pure standpoint of value turnaround, I'd probably go SGC. You can submit more, you have the 9.5 safety net, and quick turnarounds. Apparently they're just crushing turnaround times, and you still get some premiums if you catch that SGC 10. And the black slabs look slick. So there you have it, guys. And I've made my comment, my preferences known on here before. As far as CSG, I don't love their labels. They're super thick, big vertical labels, and the green coloring on them. I just don't like them. The slabs are about the same size, but for some reason that label I don't love it. So, but that's just me. I'm sure there's some people that love it, especially your comic book people. So yeah, that's just my preference there. There you have it, guys. What do you think? Who are you submitting your cards to? And if you're not submitting cards, who would you submit to? Or are you just waiting for PSA and Beckett to open up some more service levels again? What's going on? What are you guys doing? So appreciate you all checking it out. If you made it this far, smash that like button, and I'll see you next time.